Well, what would it take for you to leave X, formerly known as Twitter, for good? For some, the final straw was the election of Donald Trump.
President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution. He must win to preserve democracy in America. This is a must-win situation. Must win.
That was tech billionaire Elon Musk, owner of X, soon head of a Trump-selected panel tasked with finding efficiencies in government. A week after the American election, BlueSky saw an explosion of more than 2.5 million new signups. The app first popped into the scene in 2019. Now you could describe it as the buzziest platform. For more, we've reached Canadian journalist Evie Kwong. She works for Wired, a magazine focused on tech, culture, and politics. Good morning, Evie. Welcome to Ottawa Morning.
Good morning, Hallie. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
You've made the switch to BlueSky. Why?
I actually made the switch to BlueSky in 2022 when the acquisition was finished in October of Elon Musk taking over basically what we know as formerly known as Twitter. For me, it's just because I could see that going downhill just having worked in so many social media newsrooms and seeing that policy and just seeing how it changes. There's this idea of this growing techno-fascism. And I think over the 2 years that he's had this, and we can see exactly how far downhill it's gone in terms of X, formerly Twitter, which is also hard for us to say because we're so used to saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were, I guess, an early adopter, but how has it grown and evolved even in the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the election kicked it right off where we saw 1 million people basically move over to BlueSky. But, the big thing is that it didn't happen all after the election. The people were growing frustrated with how X was working in terms of all these crypto ads, people who could buy verification that seemed to be bots that come into their comments. And so the discourse itself it wasn't free for anyone anymore. It felt very controlled by who was paying for verifications. And also Elon Musk has changed the algorithm himself to promote himself. So if you refresh the page often, you will see his tweets at the top. And that's not by accident. That's something that he implemented back earlier this year out of frustrations about how many people were seeing his tweets. So that can give you a picture of why people are exactly kind of annoyed about the control around that app.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is a lot of criticism about X, and I've heard a lot of it myself, and I've seen a lot of what you're talking about. But I guess what I'm not getting is, okay, X has gone down the tubes. What makes BlueSky the place to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something for us as like a Wired magazine for sure to be looking at critically. Just this week, our editor at large, Stephen Levy, spoke to Jay Graber, the CEO of BlueSky. She maintains that she wants to keep it a decentralized place, but I guess the biggest difference between X or even Meta or any of those platforms is it's open source technology. So basically, it allows developers and people who can understand the code to create their own communities and without the full influence of basically what is X doing behind the scenes, what is Elon changing in the algorithms. And so this technology allows people to kind of curate their feeds. However, I think for the general public who wants to use BlueSky and wants to see, the people they are looking towards, if they want political news, tech news, they can also curate it by followers. But it's not to say that you can't see other people's stuff. And for sure, within the weeks that I've been there, I've seen many different opinions. And I know that there's lots of opinions written about it being an echo chamber, but we can definitely get into that too if we want.
Okay, well, let's park that for just a second and find out, has it already hit some sort of critical mass? I mean, who has publicly made the switch?
So I think for us at Wired magazine, we were actually there a long time ago, since 2019, to basically look into it. But I think that a lot of other newsrooms are there. So the New York Times is there. The Guardian has moved over. Guardian's actually gotten rid of their X account, which I think a lot of newsrooms are thinking of. Yeah. So in that kind of way, they just don't see it as a place where there's good communication, where information is solid. We have so many people that were brought back onto X with Elon Musk in terms of election deniers or, white supremacists or all these sorts of personalities that should, fall under hate or discrimination that have led to doxing activities that have, when violence in real life, it kind of turns into that. So those are kind of the biggest reasons. And obviously, it's just the changes, like you've seen all the kind of the bots and stuff, but also the violence has really ramped up on X incredibly. Obviously, post-election is still kind of, that crew is still there. And so a lot of people are really frustrated by that and wanted to move over to BlueSky to find, I guess, new horizons, something more positive.
Yeah, but, I just returned to this. Like, even if you've been sort of disappointed in an X lately. If something big happens and you want to know what do the cops have to say about it, or what does the mayor have to say about it, is that still the place where you get that information?
It's actually really interesting seeing how so traffic from different pages, and this is across newsrooms. We used to get some referrals from X. If people wanted to go, let's just say to like a CBC article, you could see how many people were coming in. Now it's kind of very much in flux in terms of we do see a lot of people from BlueSky engaging with our articles, which is really interesting. And we're seeing it rise. Of course, it's a really strange time of transition. Just for example, Wired Magazine's follower count on X is 9.9 million, but now it's been knocked down to 9.8 million. It's close to 9.7 soon. So whether this is a migration, whether this is unfollowing, whether things are just changing. And honestly, in terms of getting people to click the news that we want, especially in Canada with the Online News Act, like I don't believe that X has ever been the place for that. And especially with all these ads, more things that are incoming, it's just going to make it harder for newsrooms for sure.
Yeah. Just looking at a bit of a list here of Canadian politicians that have gone to Bluesky.
Yeah.
Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet. The Green Party has opened up a party account. I note that Pierre Poilievre, who has 1.1 million followers on X, has not seemingly started a BlueSky account. There are some parody accounts involving him, but that leads me to my question. You talk about whether or not BlueSky has become sort of a left-leaning echo chamber. Slate, which I'm sure you consider to be perhaps a competitor, has called BlueSky a lifeboat for, quote, left-leaning Twitter refugees. Is that a concern?
I personally think that if we understand like how it's actually being developed in terms of the open source, of course, if in resistance to what Elon Musk has done to X and like all the election stuff and his ties with Trump, there's no doubt that people are leaving because of that. It's not because of, there's lots of factors like the hate, the online misinformation, spread by himself. But I don't really believe that. I mean, if you search around and also look at your followings, there are people in replies that have actually genuine discourse with each other. I think the biggest difference is that there's people on different, places in different spectrums. So the right wing, the left wing. However, you actually get a more informative kind of conversation, not so much like, I hate you or let me dox you or like let me put your face on a deep fake and then put it up there. And then like I have to say the hate and moderation with BlueSky is also like something that can be self-curated as well. If you are someone, it's crowdsourced to see should we ban this person. So for example, Nick Fuentes, who obviously is coining this term white supremacist, who part of the Trump supporters and calling the term like your body my choice, which has really gone viral on terms of X, which is dangerously scary for a lot of people. That person was banned when they joined BlueSky because of how many people crowdsourced the fact that, this person has nothing to add to this conversation. He was formally banned on other social platforms before. But I think that's like the critical mass of people. And to say like, 20 plus million people is a total left-wing echo chamber. I don't really believe that could be a thing. And it's growing every day. So even if, going through certain conversations, under certain articles, I've seen different things. You can see many varying perspectives that don't just lean left wing, and I really believe that with more people joining, you'll be seeing that more.
Yeah, I could talk about this for more, but we've run out of time. I guess a final question is: are they called skeets, flutters, posts? What are they called? They're not tweets.
They're very much, unfortunately, called skeets, which is very funny. And when you do retweet, it's called a reskeet. So that's the language.
Okay.